Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call tonight's meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, February 14th, 2017, also known as Valentine's Day. We are 7 o'clock. We have a board meeting followed by a committee of the whole and possibly an exec after that. I would ask everyone to stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wait till Sherby gets her seat. Ms. Sherby, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Capagno.
Present.
Trustee Celestino.
Present.
Trustee Perry.
Present.
Trustee Rita.
Present.
Trustee Stecker.
Present.
Trustee Yorkovich.
Present.
President Pouliot.
Present. We do have a quorum. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Under the presentations, I understand that the Chief of Police has an acceptance presentation from the Westchester Chamber of Commerce.
Just want to let everybody know that Bill Eriks here from the Chamber came in to see me probably about 6 weeks or so ago. And he said that the Chamber wanted to donate some money to the police department to, up to X amount of dollars, and wanted to know, what kind of ideas or things that we could get with that money. So after talking to some of my staff and thinking about it, we came up with the idea that, we could really use some good riot helmets, especially in today's days with turbulent times and the civil unrest that's going on, and we really don't have any in the police department. We have the old military steel pots, but those really aren't very useful when it comes to a crowd control situation. So we decided to go with some standard riot helmets. So these are non-ballistic riot helmets. With the funds that they gave us, we were able to get 6 helmets, which would outfit every single person on patrol if the need be, that the maximum amount of people that we would have on the street. So if they would have to respond to some sort of unrest, whether it be a neighboring town or within our own, they would have some nice brand new riot helmets that they could see in with no scratch plastic. And as you see, they have a neck protector. It's your standard riot helmet and the face shield. Not too heavy, but do the job and very effective. I want to thank the Chamber for the generous donation. Bill was so gracious that he wanted to put one on, and he wanted me to go ahead and hit him with a riot stick. Unfortunately, I forgot the riot stick.
You might miss it.
He was looking forward to it. But anyways, I do want to thank you very much. It was a generous donation. These are practical. Hopefully they won't get used. If they do, we'll have some for our personnel to utilize some safe equipment and to keep their heads safe in a situation where people are throwing bottles and rocks and whatever else they can get their hands on. So I just wanted to let the board know that they did that, and I truly appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Just wanted to say that, the business community is so thankful for the dedication and service that our police department offers, and this is just a small token of our thanks.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, and the Chamber.
Any other presentations, Janet?
No.
If not, it's time for public comments and questions to give as many visitors as possible an opportunity to speak. And in the interest of adjourning by 9 p.m., please limit your comments to 3 minutes in length, unless further time is granted by the board on active or general matters. So if anyone wants to, I don't know if you filled out the forms as yet, but you could step up to the microphone, introduce yourself so our clerk gets you down, and fire away. Going once. Going twice. Going 3 times. We'll close public comments. Item number 6, consent agenda. Approval of the record of bills ending 2/9 of 17 in the amount not to exceed $841,374.70. Approval of the minutes of January 24th, 2017, the village board. The 24th, 17, the committee. January 24th, 17, exec session, and the special budget meeting, February 7, 2017. I believe we have all of those, is correct, sure? The only thing, and not to pull anything, but Gene Cernan was Proviso East. Actually, it was Proviso at the time, so it wasn't East or West back then, but just we'll make that little correction on that. Also, we have the approval of monthly reports from Community Development, Police, Fire, Public Works. Ordinance authorizing the execution of a lawn maintenance contract with Alliance Turf Management in the amount of $73,950. And that, I believe, is for the 2 years, correct, Janet?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll add 2 years to that. A resolution authorizing the execution of professional engineering service agreement with Chris B. Burke Engineering Limited for preliminary utility investigation services for the reconstruction of Balmoral in the village of Westchester, the amount of $69,982, and that is for Canterbury to Roosevelt Road, correct? Okay, we'll add that to that piece. And item F, a resolution approving a collective bargaining agreement between the Village of Westchester and the Metropolitan Alliance of Police, Westchester Patrol Chapter 651. Mike, I'd like to pull that just for a comment,
Yes.
if we may. So, anybody else want anything pulled? Once, twice, 3 times? If not, is there a motion a second to approve A through E as edited?
Second.
Nick? Oh,
No.
Celeste, I'm sorry. Celeste and Frank. Any additional discussion on anything? If not, Sherby, please call the roll.
Trustee Celestino.
Aye.
Trustee Perry.
Aye.
Trustee Rita.
Aye.
Trustee Stecker.
Aye.
Trustee Yorkovich.
Aye.
Trustee Calcagno.
Aye.
President Kulia.
Aye, motion carries. May I have a motion and a second to approve item F, the collective bargaining agreement?
Second.
So that would be Tom and Angelo. In reviewing of it, the only question or comment that I had regarding it was, I was looking at the evaluation form. And my question is this. When we're rating somebody, and I've been part of this back in my day, anyone that's getting a high mark or a low mark, I'm under the opinion that there should be some documentation or some commentary reflecting either of those. I think if who's ever doing the evaluation or just checking a box, that I think if you're mentioning somebody exceptional, that or in any of those categories, that there should be some type of justification why I'm exceptional or why I'm deficient, subject to the rules, and certainly somebody could write a rebuttal or whatever. But I would like to see in an evaluation form, in years past, everybody got a 4, right? So you might as well have taken that and used it as toilet paper, because it really wasn't effective administrative tool for corrective action, criticisms, positiveness, or whatever. So I would suggest that while you're working that if there's going to be some information on there, that it be documented and just not a numeric number with nothing attached. So,
Total agreement, and as a matter of fact, I'm waiting for my deputy chief to give me all the evaluations for this past year, which he's got now, and I'll be getting those shortly, but a couple of months ago in the staff meeting, I reflected those exact same comments that I told him. I wanted a sheet with the categories, and then for each category, a statement written what it is that they're doing right there.
well, and that's all I'm looking for. I think, if I've seen the ones we've had in the past, everybody got a 4. You know what I mean? And okay, that was it. And you looked at it, and really it's not helpful. And these things, obviously, with the staff that you have and the talent that they have, this isn't a personality or personal thing. It should be objective standards, and that's what I'm suggesting. So, other than that, there's a motion and a second on the floor. I think the topic has been discussed as far as what my suggestions are. So with that, do a roll call on that as well.
Trustee Perry.
Aye.
Trustee Rita.
Aye.
Trustee Stecker.
Aye.
Trustee Yorkovich.
Aye.
Trustee Calcagno.
Aye.
Trustee Celestino.
Aye.
President Kulia.
Aye, motion carries. Active agenda, I don't see anything. Jana, anything?
Nothing this evening.
Your report?
Just briefly wanted to remind everybody that the Village Hall Administrative Offices will be closed on Monday, February 20th in observance of President's Day. As always, police, fire will be available 24/7, so.
Public Works too.
Public Works is off as well. Yeah. That's all I have this evening.
That's it. Michael, anything you need?
I had some comments regarding the travel expense policy, but since that's on the committee of the whole, I'll just defer
Wait
to
till
that meeting. Thank you.
Board members' reports. Frankie, anything from EDC?
Yeah, we just swore in Doug Hilton, so he's now officially on the Economic Development Committee. And have we gotten the resume for that gentleman, Paul Stranquist?
I don't have anything.
Right, that's his name? Right, okay. All right, we have to get that resume to the board so we can get him.
Yeah, as soon as I get it, I can send it out to everyone, and then if there's no issues, we could kind of do what
Okay,
we did with
good.
Doug as well.
Yeah, so we're flip-flopping a lot of our members right now. So our Pride in 7 campaign isn't on hold, but we're still filling in new members and seeing where we're going to fill in the blanks at.
There you go. Thank you. Nicolai?
Nothing this evening, sir.
Good. Celestine?
Nothing this
Okay.
evening. Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you, dear. Carl?
Yes, just to report that the Environmental Sustainability Commission met last week, and with a discussion I had previously with the Public Works Director, we are going to be having on April 19th, Wednesday, April 19th, at the Westchester Middle School between 7 and 9 p.m., basically an educational and informational seminar for the general public. There are going to be a number of topics that are going to be discussed. A few of them, just off the top of my head, is the review of our recent stormwater improvements that we did for town, an explanation of the stormwater operations maintenance procedures that are done in town. We hope to get updates on the Addison Creek improvements. Hopefully have the new flood map from the Army Corps of Engineers. Hopefully that will be done and approved, and we can provide information to the residents who that affect on the south end, as well as a new volunteer opportunity regarding an environmental educational program. Basically, Mr. Lewis mentioned at the last meeting regarding stenciling of our inlets and catch basins to provide information, to let the public know where the water goes to and to prevent basically unwanted materials getting in there. So that's going to be going on. Like I said, I'll have more information as this goes, but like I said, the date is set for April 19th, Wednesday.
Question for you. Do you want me to reach out to MWRD for a representative to go over the Addison Creek piece, more so than I know?
No, absolutely. In fact, I was planning on talking to Mr. Lewis and you. Yeah, if we could get, last time we had this a few years ago, we did have a representative. It would be great to have, them come out.
I'll reach out.
And I was gonna, one of the things I was planning on doing was putting a general invite to any of the board members from the MWRD. Because last time, I believe, well, at the time she was, well, she is
Mariana
now,
was
yeah, she is, I don't think, was she the chairman then?
No, I think
Oh, but she was- yes.
Mr. O'Brien was, I think, at
Yeah,
that point.
so, an invite was gonna be going out to them. So, but yes, anything of that nature would be helpful. Thank you, sir.
And the other piece that I would add something for Melissa, are you planning on, or I guess this is the request, we need to do that National Flood Insurance Program piece for IDNR. Is it something that you could add to this? This way here, you could get that off your plate early this year? Is that something you're thinking of?
Well, we did the meeting back in November that I kind of tried to use for the community rating system.
Right.
Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, I'm sorry. The CRS system?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Actually, I apologize. That was also one of the reasons for having this meeting, to make sure that we're in compliance with that as well as our MS4 permit as well. We thought this would
Okay.
hit a lot of things right off the top. Besides being an educational for the public, it would, help satisfy those requirements as well.
Sounds good. Mr. Angelo, anything?
Nothing this evening.
Tomas, anything?
Nothing.
Nothing. Chief, anything to add? Chief 1 and Chief 2. Is that like thing 1 and thing 2 coming up?
Okay.
This is number one here, the big guy. Yeah. Just a little update on some of the things that went on. Last week, of course, we all know about the shooting that occurred at the cemetery last week. Kudos to Officer Fellers, who arrived on scene and provided CPR to the young man, and actually he was declared dead at one point, but when the paramedics got there and they rushed him to the hospital, they actually brought him back to life at Loyola. Not sure if he made it or not. Yeah, according to Vince, my detective lieutenant, he said he thought they pulled the plug on him, but I know they harvested the organs and was able to be an organ donor. But the officers did a wonderful job in regards to crowd control, life-saving measures, and I'll probably be recognizing Officer Fellers in a couple of weeks at a board meeting here for present a commendation to him as well for his actions on that. Last night we had a Narcan save with an overdose. 33-year-old male. Officers arrived. Officer Battaglia took out his little Narcan packet that he was given recently and actually used it and saved his life. Right, Jim? He actually, I heard, walked out of the hospital before Officer Battaglia left to clear as a call. So it worked that well and that good. So, but they're on the rise. But you know, the stuff works, and we're just glad that the county was able to get them out to us. So that's about it.
And I would also request that if possibly when you're doing for Officer Fellers, I mean, I think Officer Battaglia has the same recognition or whatever you have in your mind for a save. It's a life-saving event. Both of them, you know, situations being what they are, those things should be recognized by the board, certainly by yourself, and the officers if they're interested. You know, some are, some aren't. I mean, we've seen that, but it's certainly something that we should be proud of, that our officers are able to do those life-saving feats and have done them. I know in other communities I've seen recognition pieces in articles, and it certainly shows the public what our capabilities are.
Absolutely. Sure. No problem.
Thank you, sir. Jimmy.
Last week I attended a Illinois Fire Chiefs Command Summit, and actually got some really good information from speakers from the San Bernardino shootings, the Paris attacks, the Dallas sniper attack, and the Orlando Pulse. The summit was full of really good speakers for once. And then another speaker who spoke on terrorist suspicious indicators and recognition for the first responders, what teaches our guys what to look for in households that could potentially hold terrorist intentions. And then actually the closing speaker was a mother from the Sandy Hook shooting who had lost a daughter that really hit home. But she's actually taken that, and she started safeschools.org, which is a really good resource for schools free resource for schools to reach out and use for planning in these instances. Also, I just want to mention the guys at the firehouse. Actually, I don't know if everybody's aware, if everybody remembers, Dennis Keefe lost his son Adam last year. He was big with this biking. He was big with biking and outdoors and everything. And there's a place on the north side called the Recyclery, and the guys all pitched in and donated a couple $100 in Adam's name to the Recyclery, and it basically helps kids, underprivileged kids, get bikes that they couldn't normally afford. But they don't just get them; they actually bring them into the shop and kind of have them earn their bikes. So it's kind of a real neat program they have on the north side there. And then lastly, got a real nice letter from the Bloomingdale police and fire departments. We assisted in laying that officer to rest, and we set up our flag with Elmhurst's ladder truck over here at Oak Ridge Cemetery, and they just gave us a really nice thank you letter. To police and fire, I'm sure you would receive something as well. So that's all I got.
Just a question, jumping back to the bike thing. I don't know if we have any bikes in the hopper, Chief, that are whatever.
We only have like 4 or 5. We've contacted somebody, but he said when we get a few more, then give them a call.
Okay, because I'm suggesting, you know, to auction them off or whatever, really, it's cost you more to put the ad in than you're going to get for them. It may be a thought that if they're donatable to this organization,
That'd be
you know,
awesome.
that works the same way.
Cool. Very good. Thank you.
Mr. Chris.
Just a couple things. Just a friendly reminder, vehicle stickers are going on sale March 1st. and the bills are set to be mailed out on the 24th of this month. In addition to the regular Village Hall hours, we'll be open 3 Saturdays during the period, March 11th, April 8th, and April 29th. And then also tonight before the meeting, I met with Trustee Stecker and Trustee Rita regarding paperless billing as far as water bills are concerned. I plan to have something on the February 28th cow to present to the board in hopes to get information out to residents in conjunction with the vehicle sticker sales so people can get word of possible plan to convert to paperless billing.
Thank you. Mr. Gregg?
Yes, after much delay, the Gladstone camera is finally installed. As part of the reason was that the electrician that had originally quoted the price, originally quoted that they would do this to avoid failing the warranty that they had there on the equipment that was out in the park. The electrician was out of business, so they had to get a new electrician, which they finally did. So ultimately, it did get done today. Weather. But thank you to the Public Works Department for providing some assistance in getting one of the guys up a little bit higher than was expected at the time. But that's all working. Also, the Illinois State Police had a hearing on the 911 consolidation that we've been putting together. They voted unanimously in favor of it. We didn't expect any difference, but I was just, you know, that on January 23rd they had the hearing and proceeded it forward. We're just waiting for official paperwork stating that it's all accepted, but otherwise we believe it will be. That's all I have.
Thank you. Robert?
2 items. We're just want to let the board know that we're going to be doing some calibration testing for our computerized model of the water system. We'll do that this Friday. It's the first night where it looks like it won't get below freezing, so we'll open some hydrants and it shouldn't cause any freezing in the street. And we're going to test 25 hydrants throughout town while we're monitoring our pump station and the levels of water in the reservoirs. This will give us a dynamic sense of how the system responds when the pumps turn on and off in low pressure, high pressure zones, and we'll calibrate the entire model so that we can use that model to predict other types of scenarios. So we'll be doing that this Friday. Go on all over town pretty much all day long. The second item I wanted to make the board aware of is that we are looking at expanding our salt storage area. We're due to purchase another 1,000 tons of salt. Our problem will be if it doesn't snow substantially, we won't have any place to put it. We believe that we can procure some more of these blocks that we are currently using to hold up the tarp and expand out that system to the south, just short of, there's a new fence that's up and there's a gap there where the hydrant is. Expand it just short of there, about 15 feet short. We think if we do 2 stacks of these blocks and buy some additional tarps that we can hold that 1,000 tons right there on our site. And given a year where we're using lots of salt and we don't need that storage, we can always use those to separate for storing other materials in different bins. The cost is just a little less than $5,000, but it'll allow us to take the salt and not have to find another place to store it and keep it on site and tarp it and still meet the requirements for pollution control of that system. So we're looking into that, and most likely we're going to monitor our budget. We think we'll have some surplus in this year's budget, and we'd like to spend that to expand salt storage.
Is the, are you looking at a canopy top similar to what we have, or just the flat tarping? Because I would at least get some prices if you're not looking for the canopy top, to look for the canopy piece of that.
But we can get prices. We would want to see something that's removable, because we don't often need this. Just get 2 years where we're purchasing the minimum and we're getting very little snow, then it's a little problematic for us. With our state purchase agreement, we are required to buy a minimum amount of salt. And last year and this year, it's been more than we needed. And the problem is, once you take it, what do you do with it? The other choice is just to give them the money and not take it. We'd rather take it and store it. So right now, we're looking at just a tarp to cover it. It'll be covered on two sides and tarp the top, but we certainly can look at prices for expanding that canopy.
I mean, I always worry about the rain, especially if you don't use it and you got the haul the summer or whatever, and you and I both know that when the rain hits the tarp, not supposed to be permeable, but if you look at the salt bag or the sandbags behind the salt bin, I mean, they're pretty much destroyed. I mean, we did our best with tarping and tires and blocks and things like that just to cover that. And, you know, once the salt gets wet, it's got to run someplace, and you know where it's running.
Robert, I know the smaller size canopies, they have ones that are on rails that you can collapse. I'm not sure with the bigger ones like this, if that's an option.
But there's something to look into, because
Well, it's the canopy, but
it's accordion.
It's an accordion, yeah. I don't know about the bigger.
Yeah.
Maybe
something to look at.
Well, yeah, we want to do something so we don't waste the resource.
Yeah.
And try to capture that. And we do have enough space back there. If you've been back there recently, you see we've moved all the cars around and taken measurements and things. And so we're going to give it a go and see if we can't do it this year.
Anything else, sir? No. Melissa.
Good evening. Just wanted to let everybody know, I'm not sure if I mentioned it at the last meeting, but on February 23rd, we're going to have the public hearing for Palmer Florist. Three new
February 23rd.
businesses. I'm sorry?
February 23rd?
Yes. 3 new businesses opened last month. We issued 66 permits. We did 122 inspections, and it was a construction value of about $1.2 million. And that's all that I have for tonight.
Ms. Sherby, anything for the order, my dear? Nothing. Guess it's my turn. A couple things. I don't know if you've seen the Illinois Municipal League State House briefing that came to us the other day. There's one issue that certainly should be near and dear to us. Talks about small cell antenna tower right away. It appears that the industry wants to pretty much knock the local ability to regulate anything in regards to the telecommunications. So, like I talked about before when we were talking about small cell technology and technology on telephone poles and things of that nature, I don't think any of us would want to see a refrigerator or something mounted to a telephone pole at some regard. So we're need to monitor that. From the small cell group that I was part of the North Suburban mayors and managers, they deferred this to the IML, and the IML has tracked this. There's Senate Bill 1451 would severely limit municipal authority to regulate, cite, or charge permit fees for small wireless facilities. So this also limits home rule communities as well. So we need to follow that in my regard, because I think as local municipalities, we should have some kind of say in what goes on the poles on our right-of-way. I mean, we do it for signs and things of that nature. To me, it should be easy, but I'm not sure about that. Also, you know, we have the luncheon, and there's going to be some state legislators there on Saturday. If you have any questions or whatever you think you want to stand up and ask of them, certainly the budget is going to come up. I've signed on to a document from the mayors and managers today from the Chicago with Rahm Emanuel asking them to try to get a budget and quit, let's say, playing or whatever they're doing, that we don't have a budget, but that's pretty much the focus of that. Another matter that I wanted to bring to everybody's attention, I happen to be looking at the old minute books dating back to 1925 and working our way this way, looking for some information, and I came upon a number of ordinances that the Village Fathers had executed with Queen of Heaven Cemetery for sanitary sewer. Glen Oak Cemetery and the village of Hillside in particular, where their storm and sanitary water, unless things have changed in the piping scheme, have entered our system. There was some charges and some rates and things that may not have been collected over time. How they fell through the cracks, I don't know. But I think we need a review of all of these types of situations. As you well know, Glen Oak Cemetery stormwater is authorized to go into the village of Westchester off the Pelham in those areas there. Years ago, there was an issue with flooding. The then village manager decided to brick them up, and of course, when the ordinance came out that they were allowed to dump in, they had to unbrick or unseal them to let that stormwater go. Now, you and I and everybody in this room that's a resident of Westchester are paying some sanitary fee, stormwater fee, or whatever we're paying or whatever we're not paying. But again, there's a lot of water that's coming off these places that's coming into our system. The Proviso Manor Estates, which is the hillside section of what I'll call Westchester off of Cermak Road, goes right into where Celestine lives, 2400 Street, which was Windsor Drive at the time. There was fee schedules for that. I don't know where they are, but there are certain things in effect, certain resolutions that are out there establishing rates, 1514-050, 1514-040, ordinance number 47, ordinance number 55, 1504-070, and also talks about 1,205 illegal connections that we had back in 1983 as far as I&I. So with these things that are out there that are coming through our town, the access, unless some piping has changed that I'm not aware of, I think we need to take a serious look at that to see what's going on and what can be done. Because it's all coming our way. It's passing to us to get to Roosevelt Road, to the interceptor underneath the Roosevelt Road Bridge, and or our sanitary, which we're in the process of rebuilding in the next couple of months on Sunnyside. And there's millions of gallons of water that come off that cemetery, that into the storm sewers, that in through Westchester, which certainly have caused some issues for us that I think we need to resolve. So I'm not trying to stir the pot for anything or anybody, but again, I think it's something that we need to look into, and if there's some kind of revenue that would help us build or construct something, that would be a positive thing, that we maybe want to look at that. So, also, did you mention the breakfast?
I did not mention.
Oh, okay. Friday, March 17th, 8:30 to 10:30. St. Joseph's High School, the Global Resource Center, for the annual senior breakfast. So you're all pretty much invited. Certainly the public contacts Samantha at the Village Hall for reservations, as Janet said she's going to cook this year. So we're going to be in good shape. So, other than that, that's enough. All right, is there an exec? Anybody? For 5 LX 120, discuss appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body. Anything in regards to an exec? Anybody?
Trustee Stecker has requested.
Oh, Nick? Yeah. Okay. All right, then we'll have an exec after that. So I would ask now for a motion, a second, to adjourn our board meeting.
Second, or so moved.
Second.
Who got it? Tommy? And Angelo. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and the opposition say no. Our board meeting stands adjourned. We'll